Hello, it is Friday, May 5th, 2023. I'm Chris Raymond. Welcome back to the New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It is a Friday puzzle today, which means a themeless crossword, and I'm sure many of you will be pleased about that because I saw quite a bit of grumbling about yesterday's theme in the Daily Solve Discord chat server and the comments on yesterday's video. So perhaps many of us will be looking forward to a nice themeless, straightforward solve, although we'll see. Sometimes these are not straightforward, but we'll just have to find out. In any case, this themeless edition of the Daily Solve has been brought to us by Lewis William, Camtron, Henrik Koskinen, and, as always, the invaluable Timothy Mark and the indomitable Shoalmaster. So thank you so much to the 5 of them, benefactors of the Daily Solve Patreon campaign, for their generous support. They are keeping this channel going, they're sustaining this whole thing, and I really do appreciate that. It means a lot to me, and thank you if you are among the entire group of patrons who is responsible for this support. I really do appreciate it. And if you'd like to become a patron yourself, you can head over to patreon.com/dailysolve or click the link in the description field. And there you can get access to all of the bonus videos that have gone up on the channel to date, as well as the new ones that go up each week. And that includes, today I'll do the next mini puzzle pseudo speed solve, the New York Times mini crossword, 7 puzzles in a video that I do. And then tomorrow I have scheduled to post the final puzzle, the championship puzzle of the Crosswords Spring Themeless League that's wrapping up, that has wrapped up this week. I found it to be particularly difficult. I probably found it to be the most difficult puzzle of the season. And then if you're a patron, do share your requests for what you'd like to see me solve now that Bosswords is complete. In between the Bosswords Themeless Leagues, I tend to solve other things. So maybe I'll do some more cross sticks. Anyway, let's see, what else? Yes, if you're so that's all. Sorry, those are just the bonus videos. I went on a bit too long about that. And then if you're a benefactor, you can, of course, get the Daily Solve Let's Check the Crosses mug. All right. Do subscribe to the channel if you've not gotten around to that. And you can join the Daily Solve Discord chat server, which I mentioned a moment ago. And there's a link to that in the description field as well. Okay, so let's actually solve the crossword now. This is a Friday themeless crossword by Jacob McDermott, who has, I think, constructed around half a dozen puzzles for the New York Times, and it was edited, as always, by Will Shortz. So let's start solving, see what's going on today. Popular TikTok character. Wow, it seems obscure. I don't know. I don't actually have TikTok. Let's see. Growth area for many. This feels punny to me, but I'm not sure. That's incredible. With the exclamation point. Often what the exclamation point means is this is a phrase you would say about the answer rather than being synonymous with the answer. So what this won't be is a phrase that means that's incredible. If that were the case, this would be in quotation marks to indicate somebody speaking it aloud, but that's not what's going on here. Anyway, I'll need some more. I'll need a cross to know what's going on there. Indecisive child's first word, perhaps. Indecisive child's first word, perhaps. Dunno? I'm not sure. I'm trying to think. Putting that into a single word could be this. Traveler's approximation. Abbreviated. Maybe not. Oh, no, I see. Eeny, E as in eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Right, okay. When I was thinking first word, this is classic Friday cluing behavior. I read first word, and I think I read it initially as intended, which is that I read it as the first word a child ever speaks in their whole life. And I was thinking, that's strange. But I think actually what it means is the first word in their bout of indecision. So eeny, meeny, miny, mo, to help choose something. And then traveler's approximation would be estimated time of, well, I was going to say arrival, but it could be departure as well. You get either of those in this kind of situation. What a graph may show. A graph could show a trend if you're graphing data on a plot, Cartesian plane or what have you. Words after a commercial break. Be right back. Words after, or we're back, of course. That's after the commercial break. There we go. The odd thing about laundry. One sock. Sometimes it is odd in two senses of the word: strange and not evenly numbered. Bunny slope option. So I think this is referring to skiing. The bunny slope is the sort of beginner ski trail. Mini something? Growth. Oh, growth area for many. Yes, a womb in which an embryo grows. There we go. So bunny slope option. Maybe it is mini something. Mini run? A small ski run? Pantheon of Norse gods. Oh, is it? It's Aesir, I think, is the pantheon of Norse gods. And then that confirms this as traveler's approximation estimated time of arrival. So doctor's order could be bed rest. The doctor could recommend you simply get plenty of bed rest. Silly Sallies. So does this mean Sally is in Sally Forth? So Silly Sallies. I don't know if that's a phrase with which I'm unfamiliar, or if it does mean a kind of journey or setting off. I'm not sure. Oh, this doesn't look great, does it? 1983 Herbie Hancock funk classic. Maybe this is something and I'm just not, I can't place it. I don't know. Let's see. Owl Light. Owl Light. I don't know that phrase, I don't think. Asa Butterfield's role in sex education. Haven't seen this one. I think that's a Netflix show, maybe? Planet with a Wikipedia page. This is going to be a Star Wars reference. So what are some Star Wars planets? Tatooine, I guess? There we go. That's probably the most famous Star Wars planet, I guess, because it's the first one in the first Star Wars film. Let's see. Sources of some dings. Alerts, maybe, on your phone? This is the kind of thing that there could be many answers to this clue, and without crosses, it's hard to be certain. Silly Sallies. I just don't know what that's getting at. Networking group. And one way to reach a distant star. One way to reach a distant star. Maybe it refers to a celebrity. How getting in contact with the celebrity somehow. I don't know. Oh, fan letter. Yeah, it is that. Okay. Because the reason I thought that is because reaching a distant star in the sort of astronomical sense, you can only really do that in a science fiction context. And so I was just trying to think, is there anything else that could be? And that's the sort of thing that happens on Fridays quite often. Fridays and Saturdays, but I think of especially Friday as being a sort of punny, a day when you have to use some lateral thinking sometimes to understand what the setter is getting at here. That's incredible. So it could be something that simply isn't credible, a lie or a misdirection, something like that. But I'm just not sure what it is yet. Let's see. First animated. Gertie the dinosaur was, yes, the first animated dinosaur in 1914. I mean, I wouldn't have known the year off the top of my head, but you can look up Gertie the dinosaur and see. And it's actually quite. I mean, it's totally worthwhile animation, I think, still. Popular TikTok. Is it a hashtag? Yes. Okay. It is another one of these bits of misdirection here. You get a lot of misdirection without question marks on a Friday often. And here we go. We have a character, in other words, an alphanumeric character. Well, I guess it's not alphanumeric, is it? But it's a character that can be typed on the keyboard. Prefix on the links. HTTP, right? So the links refers to a golf course often, but not in this case. It's a Friday puzzle. So the links in this case means the web links. And so we have HTTP for, what is it, Hypertext Transfer Protocol? Had dreams, presumably. You slept, maybe? So the presumably being, presumably if you slept, you had dreams, but we don't know that. So we're only presuming it. And again, a bit of misdirection because had dreams, idiomatically in English, we use to mean planned things for oneself. Speculated about your future. Intrigue. This could be intrigue as in sort of unusual goings on or clandestine activity, or it could mean intrigue as in to interest somebody, to intrigue them. I'm not sure which it is. Impish Fruit Artist, 1943. Not sure. That's incredible. Oh, A Tall Tale. A Tall Tale is incredible. It's not credible because it's an exaggerated retelling of something, or perhaps fiction entirely. So intrigue. Allure. So it's intrigue as in interest or attraction. There we go. Networking group. IT support, maybe? Not sure if that's correct. Let's see. Hans. Who is this artist? Hans. And then needlework. A tattoo could be. It's done with a tattoo. Once again, needlework, you think of maybe sort of needlepoint or something like that. But no, in this case, we're referring to a tattoo. Kickoff, the start of a game, for instance, the kickoff. They may be shaken but not stirred. Fists. So, once again, not martinis, as you'd think, with the James Bond quotation, which was actually, there's an entire puzzle themed around martinis, shaken martinis in a recent New York Times crossword. But in any case, this is not that, but rather your fist, which you could shake, but you don't really talk about stirring a fist. Went like a bat out of hell. You tore, you went very quickly. And then, oh, Hans Arp. Is that who this is? And then, yes, an appeasement. Okay, this is Hans Arp, the artist, and then appeasement would be a sop. So you could. This is something I hear more here in the UK than in the US. I don't know that but I'm sure it's used in both. An appeasement, a sop, a sort of offering to somebody to ameliorate their, I don't know, concerns or what have you, frustrations. Okay, this looks like maybe Otis, I don't know. But it's a name, so it would work. Delivery person's uniform. Once again, I think this is not, you see delivery person, you think somebody who is dropping off a package, but no, I'm almost certain this is going to be someone delivering a child. But, so scrubs maybe. Yes, you could have, they could be wearing medical scrubs. Okay, so that's what it is. And yes, this is just, I mean, it seems as though most of the answers, or at least around half of them, almost, perhaps, if not most, are this kind of misdirection. So what is this? Silly Sallies. Wisecracks? Oh, this isn't Mini Run, is it? And what was this? Oh, I never looked at this clue. Big name in House speakers. Once again, yet again in this puzzle, you see House speakers, and at least in a U.S. political context, or actually in that case, in the U.K., you have the same thing. The Speaker of the Speaker of the House of Commons in the U.S., the Speaker of the House of Representatives. But nope, that's not what this is. It's audio speakers manufactured by Bose. So mini ski, I suppose. And then Silly Sallies, that must be a term for wisecracks. And then Nellie Taylor Blank, first female governor of a U.S. state, Wyoming. That's interesting. That's not knowledge that I have, unfortunately. But here we go. Herbie Hancock font classic. Is it Rocket? And then Owl Light. This still isn't familiar to me. Let's see. Muscles that stretch during pregnancy could be one's abs. Ross, Nellie Taylor Ross, Owl Light. Oh, a time. Is it a time of day? Dusk? Okay, that sounds very plausible. That's a good phrase. Owl Light, dusk. Ransomware threat. So ransomware is a type of computer malware that, what does it do? I think it threatens to delete files and things like that unless you send the person who installed it on your computer some amount of money. And sometimes that's in cryptocurrency and sometimes it's not. But I think that's what that is. So a threat would be maybe deletion. That would fit, but it wouldn't work with abs. Is abs correct? Wouldn't be ebs. So data loss. There we go. Same idea, but a different phrase. Okay. Let's see. Take a broad view. Question mark. So this one, they're actually giving us the question mark, the pun indicator here. It's very generous. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be helping me, does it? Joint Chief of Staff, question mark. So again, they're giving us the indication here. So Joint Chief of Staff, you think of that as Chief of Staff of military command, that kind of thing. But it's not what it's going to be. So what is it actually? A wizard or something? A wizard's staff? Would you call a wizard chief of staff? I suppose you could get away with that in a punny context. Same, but I don't think it is. Same here, maybe you could say. Same here, in quotation marks, to indicate that this is something that you might sort of say conversationally. Source of the Amazon River. Oh, what is the source of the Amazon River? Oh, it's annoying that I can't just pull this out of my head immediately. Peaked, had a look. That H, that's enticing there. On could be atop, or on as in turned on, activated. Holders of many long-handled forks. Long-handled forks. So I wonder if instead of being forks you'd use to eat something, I wonder if this means pitchforks, maybe farmers, that kind of thing. I'm just trying to think of interpretations that are not the one that you'd ordinarily expect in sort of typical English usage. Mandlikova with 4 Grand Slam tournament wins. It's just information I don't have. I don't know. Based on Mandlikova, maybe Olga or something, but I just don't know. First name in civil rights, Rosa, maybe Rosa Parks. And this first name thing happens in the New York Times crossword often because the phrase first name, idiomatically, when you're using it in a historical context, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's given name, somebody's first name. Often when we say that, we mean first name as in a towering name, an incredibly, but we're still referring to a surname, a last name. But in the New York Times crossword, often in this case, it actually means both at the same time. Okay, award-winning PBS docuseries. I think Nova is a docuseries on PBS, it's a public broadcast system in the U.S. And Leeward Island, where Alexander Hamilton was born. Oh boy, where was he born? Was he born in Aruba, maybe? I don't think that's right. I don't remember where Alexander Hamilton was born. Should probably know that, but I can't think. Cub Scout Den leader. Cub Scout Den leader. Don't know. Vital concern. Could be something around vital signs. Again, if we're just trying to think of other ways you could use this. Obviously, a vital concern ordinarily would mean a key issue, but could be something medical, maybe. Dum-dum could be an idiot, maybe, with that O there. Whatever could be... It's not in quotation marks, so it doesn't mean somebody saying, ugh, whatever, in a dismissive way, because that would be in quotation marks to indicate speech, but it just means literally the word whatever. So any, or maybe this isn't idiot. Because if you're using whatever in context, you could say, I don't mind, use whatever one of those, use any one of those, for instance. Not sure. Well, let's see, if there were an A here, does that help? It doesn't really help me. Diplomatic professional. Oh, but this could be a diplomatic envoy, maybe, actually. So perhaps this is any. Does that help with dum-dum? Am I being one by not seeing this? Not sure. Try for. To try for something is just seek it. Maybe you could seek office, try for office. Like a set without a break in tennis. Not sure. Not sure that this is... I don't know. Chalet alternatives. So does this mean a ski chalet, maybe? You've just you've just gone down the mini ski bunny slopes and now you're heading back to your chalet, or is it something else? Oh, a dum-dum could be a moron. Does that help? Like a set without a break in tennis. This doesn't look like anything I recognize. Series opener. Oh, game one? Is this not Rosa? Series opener. Show one? What kind of series? Book one. Right, okay. Not a series of games, but a series of books. Fair enough. Cub Scout Den Leader. Right. Oh no, this does. Sorry, I was going to say maybe it's not the Cub Scouts in the Boy Scout sense, but Scout is capitalized, so I think it actually has to be. This probably just has a name that I don't know. Ocala or something like that. I don't know. Chalet alternatives. Oh, is it A-frames? You could have. So is this referring to a particular architectural style? Because you could have an A-frame. You think of in the sort of Swiss Alps or something, an A-frame house, and maybe that's an alternative to a particular style that chalet denotes. Okay, that could be the case. So Cub Scout Den Leader, Akala. I just have no idea what this is. Do I have something? Oh, I spelled envoy wrong. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. Oh, I just didn't notice that at all. The similarity visually between the V and the Y, I sort of glossed over it. Like a set without a break in tennis. A something serve. So Akela, I guess. I don't know. That's not language. I'm in my content. I'm just not aware of what's going on with this sort of Cub Scout thing. Anyway, like a set without a break in tennis. On serve? I don't know. I'm not sure about this terminology. Holders of many long-handled forks. Food. Oh, no serve? Like a set without a break. On. Aboard. If you're on a boat, you're aboard it. There we go. So on, I guess it's on serve. Holders of many long-handled forks. Oh, I just don't quite see it. Maybe I'll leave this for now until I'm certain about this whole thing. So, Peru, the source of the Amazon River. That makes sense. I should have thought of that. Take a broad view to pan. Right. Okay. So this means. I guess it's sort of in some ways it's similar to the original, to the sort of primary idiomatic meaning. You take a broad view of something, you look at it in a broad sort of generous sense. And I think what this means here is in a film, if you take a broad view of a location, you sort of are panning, the camera rotates and pans around to see more of the scene. So you're taking a broader view of it. That could be, I think that's what's going on there. And you could see that could be the sort of literalization of metaphorically taking a broad view. So Joint Chief of Staff, a warden. Okay, fair enough. So I guess it means, you could have a prison warden or something. It's chief, who's one of several prison wardens who are the joint chiefs of the prison staff, I guess. Oh, fondue pots, holders of many long-handled forks. So you do use long-handled forks actually with fondues. This is literal long-handled forks. And so is it the pots bit? Is that, do the pots themselves hold long-handled forks? Maybe they have little rests for the forks or something. Was visually exciting. It was visually exciting. It popped. And like oocytes, this is something to do with kind of the reproductive process. Ovate or ovoid, something like that. Ovular, maybe. There we go. So related to eggs. Vital concern. Epic fails, question mark. So it won't mean epic fail in the kind of what I think is maybe now outdated internet language meaning an utter unmitigated disaster, but it probably won't mean that because of the question mark that indicates we're reading this in a punny sort of way that isn't the immediately obvious meaning, but what is it actually? Plot holes? Yes, you can have an epic in an epic, a work of, I don't know, epic poetry or epic, maybe an epic film or something like that. could have a failure or plot hole. I think that's probably correct. Malady that rhymes with the area it affects. You could have a sty in your eye, and that rhymes. Creator of Aunt Annie and Benjamin B. Bicklebaum. Well, those sound like Dr. Seuss characters, don't they? So, and the crosses gave it away. First Prime Minister of an independent India, Nehru. There we go. That's a nice straightforward clue. Unusually for this puzzle. Leeward Island, where Alexander Hamilton was born. Oh, was he born in Nevis, of St. Kitts and Nevis, maybe? I don't know if it was St. Kitts and Nevis. I don't know if they were the same country at the time. Frontline workers to many heroes, I suppose? Maybe? Let's check the crosses on that. Little romance, maybe. An easy read, right. So a romance novel in this case. Once again, just a bit of misdirection in this puzzle. Not a little romance as in a tryst or a budding love. Vital concern could be, pulse rate. Yes, okay. So it was, as I suspected, it was something related to your vital signs in a medical sense, as opposed to a key issue of concern. Telly on the telly once. This must be someone's name. Savalas? That sounds familiar to me, and I can't place why. Telly Savalas? Is that somebody? Let's put it in and see. Mandlikova with 4 Grand Slam tournament wins. Okay, well, this doesn't seem any more familiar than it was to me before, unfortunately. So, crossover for 1. Oh, an SUV, a crossover SUV. That's a category of vehicle, and I don't exactly know what the crossover things are. Is it a crossover between a sort of traditional large SUV and maybe a kind of ordinary sized car? I'm not. That's probably what it is. Part of many soccer team names. United, like Manchester United, that kind of thing. And tulipiers, e.g., are those vases? I hope so, because I'm not going to get any help from this cross. Hanna Mandlikova, I hope that's correct. Let's try it and see. Yes. Oh, right, and 1,501 day streak. It's funny, yesterday in my sort of preamble before I got going, I mentioned that my streak was somewhere in the 1,400 range, and I didn't know exactly what it was. And then apparently that exact day, I hit 1,500 and was congratulated by some people in the comments. So thank you for that. And I didn't notice at all. I just did not notice that milestone come and go. Anyway, here it is, 1,501. So nice to see. Anyway, so here we go. A themeless puzzle. I would say this was in the classic Friday vein with lots and lots of misdirection. Not brutal misdirection. I mean, it wasn't a Saturday style puzzle with lots of incredibly obscure knowledge, although there were things that were obscure to me, such as this Hanna Mandlikova and this Akela Cub Scout Den Leader thing. But in general, it was more about this winking kind of clever light misdirection. And because I expected it, I was constantly on the lookout for it. But I could imagine if you are not predisposed to seek that kind of thing out in a Friday puzzle, if you're not predisposed to be imagining it lurking in every corner, you might find this very frustrating. And I can understand that. So it's a case where knowing the conventions on Friday is helpful. And like I said yesterday, actually, with respect to themes, I didn't have any awareness of this before I started doing this video series. I did not know the different conventions of the various days of the week of the New York Times crossword. I didn't know that Thursday was the wacky theme day. I didn't even know that Friday and Saturday were the themeless days, let alone the Friday kind of tongue-in-cheek, winky version of themeless and the Saturday more straightforwardly difficult version of Saturday. I just didn't know any of these things. So it's as you can see, based on my solve of this puzzle, it's incredibly helpful to be aware of that because you can be expecting it, and it helps you put your brain in the right mindset for those kinds of clues. Anyway, that was a classic Friday solve by Jacob McDermott, and there we have it. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how you found this one in the comments or in the Discord channel. And now let's discuss a few clues from yesterday's puzzle. I did mark a few today, so we can load those up. And let's see, what do we have? Bora Rex points out correctly that although often a location, i.e., Washington for the US government, a metonym can be any word used as a substitute for something else with which it is closely associated. Yes, you're completely right. I think I did describe it as being a location, but it need not be. James Dickey observes that I never did quite figure out, quote, material that is bad for the mouth. The answer was silt, and you speculated briefly that silt in your food would be bad, but then moved on. I suspect it's talking about a river mouth, and silt carried by the river interferes with the flow of the river and with navigation. That makes much more sense. Thank you for pointing that. I think a couple other people did as well. Stephen Giblin explains that Altamont Speedway in California was the site of a festival-style concert held in 1969, some considered as the Woodstock of the West. It was notable because of several violent incidents and deaths. The Rolling Stones performed. The Grateful Dead were scheduled to perform, but canceled because of the increasing violence among the crowd. Wow. I've probably heard of that, but it isn't in the forefront of my mind, and it wasn't knowledge that I had at hand. Cohen points out, of course, that Quito is the capital of Ecuador, and yes, of course it is. I could not remember that yesterday. I knew it was in that region of the world, but could not place the country. So thank you for reminding me. I was curious about hobgoblin versus goblin, and Nix Hicks replied to say, in folklore, hob as a prefix can mean mischievous or friendly. A hob might live indoors, near the hob, the stove perhaps, or outdoors, and perform household or farmyard tasks, but if offended, could become irksome nuisances. To make it go away forever, one must give it an article of clothing, but apparently that might not work on the worst of the hobs. Thank you for that explanation. And then Brian Spurrier comes in with another bit on various fairy creatures. There are a lot of words like goblin, hobgoblin, brownie, redcap, and others for fey creatures. I know that Hob comes from Robin or Robert, and specifically from the character Robin Goodfellow, so that's the classic mythological character. But no one is really sure why the name Robin specifically was used. In general, hobgoblins were seen as less malicious and more mischievous than goblins in folklore, though sometimes the names were used interchangeably. All right, and there we have it. Thank you to everybody, as always, for those always interesting and informative comments, and I'll be back tomorrow for the Saturday puzzle. Thanks for making it to the end of this one. Hope you join me again. But until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Friday. Take care.